You guys are watching NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey. It is a mailbag. You should pretty much know what that is. Self-explanatory. Any question that comes in during our live show, we answer. This was filmed on our Wednesday live show. We begin with Raiders for life. I want Leonard, Floyd, or Myles Jack to go to the Raiders. I think those are decent ideas. The addition of Tyree Wilson and Byron Young, I think they're actually in okay shape up front. Linebacker, I believe in Divine Diablo, but I think Myles Jack could be a nice veteran piece. I would love a corner in Vegas. Sam and I talked about this pre-show. The cornerback room is not exactly a loaded one for Vegas. RC Plane Builder 2, his second account. How about DeAndre Hopkins to Atlanta? The Falcons, I do believe, have the money to at least make it work, but they also have Kyle Pitts and Drake London, and they want to be a run-first football team. I don't know if they want to invest the amount of money in Hopkins with a trade asset on Hopkins for a team that just isn't going to throw the football enough to make it worthwhile, hence why they drafted Bijan in round 1. So the need is there. Like, he's a much better version than Matt Collins. Like, that's just an instant upgrade button. Hit it like 5 times. I just don't think the organizational philosophy is enough for Hopkins to fit in Atlanta, at least for the current construction. James Heiner, do you believe the Saints will start the rookie they drafted in the event of the legal situation regarding Kamara leads to a suspension? I do think there is a very good chance that there is an Alvin Kamara suspension. That seems quite likely there. As it relates to Kendre Miller, the TCU running back, I would say it's a split committee between him and Jamal Williams. Maybe Jamal gets some of your early down work, the short yardage. Probably an even split. I wouldn't worry that much about the starting aspect. But touch-wise, yes, there will be plenty of opportunities for Kendre Miller in year 1, especially if and or when Kamara gets suspended. From Carter Reimer, should Miami trade for Evan Engram? I don't think that's a great fit. I think, if anything, Miami wants a better run-blocking tight end, but they also took Elijah Higgins, not much of a blocker. The Jags are also unlikely to trade him. I know they spent a second-round pick on Bretton Strange. I think the franchise tag for a year is the most likely outcome for Evan Engram. It'd be a fun fit in the offense because of the dynamic ability Engram brings as a pass catcher, but the run blocking is just not. You kind of had that in Micah, didn't you? From Edwin Garcia, is Caleb Williams a lock for the number 1 pick? I would not say lock because we've been down this road with highly touted prospects. Everyone thought Spencer Rattler was going to be the number 1 overall pick last year, and he's still in school because he wasn't good at Oklahoma his last year. Sam Howell was supposed to be great, and then he was a 5th-round pick, although he gets a chance to start this year. So Caleb is minus like 500 or 600 to be the number 1 pick, which is a massive number from that perspective. That's unheard of favorites, like Trevor Lawrence-esque, with the draft having just now ended. So he's the heavy favorite. I would bet he's the guy, but I'm not going to call it a lock at this point. Who do you think will end up being the number 1 overall pick? Is it going to be Caleb Williams? Maybe it's a non-quarterback needy team and they take Marvin Harrison, or maybe it's a Drake May. Get those answers at the pinned comment of today's video. If the ad break comes here on the YouTube side, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. From Logan Carruthers, do you think Trey Lance is a bust? I have been disappointed so far. If Lance does not take a massive step forward this year, the answer is probably going to be a yes. We also haven't had a chance to see much out of Trey Lance at this stage. Like, he has played a handful of games. Last year it was a monsoon game, and then he broke his ankle. So he didn't really get anything to judge off him. That's why I am not out on Trey Lance, but I am nervous about Trey Lance. And on the spectrum, it's closer to bust than hit, but I'm not calling it a locked and loaded done deal quite yet. From Aaron R., a $5 super chat. Thank you, Aaron. Where do you think Zeke gets signed? I've heard Bills since March, but here we are in May with no signing. Would he start having my Dynasty Fantasy Football League? The Bills signed Latavius Murray, so I'm crossing them off the list. I know Zeke had wanted the Eagles, Jets, and Bengals, and they all traded or drafted a running back early on. My initial prediction, and I'm still going to ride with it, how about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Tampa Bay signed an undrafted free agent in Sean Tucker, and then right now it's Rachaad White, Chase Edmonds, and Keyshawn Vaughn. Like, I could be second best back on the team, if not third. So I do think Zeke gets signed. I don't think there's been much interest in him at his age, workload, and just straight up production. $2 from Shamari Peoples. It's Christian Gonzalez, the J.C. Jackson replacement. Similar, I suppose-ish. Just, cornerbacks, and ideally the new number 1 corner for New England, so sure. Outside guy for Gonzalez. Not quite the feast or famine interception guy that J.C. Jackson was. It's a great pick by New England. If he can have a J.C. Jackson-esque career, minus this past year in L.A., that's an awesome outcome for New England. We are live every week, folks, answering your questions. So if you want to be a part of the mailbags, then you've got to be subscribed. So hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/chatsportstv. From Jess, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre were both top 2 quarterback prospects before being drafted. Jordan Love was fifth best in his class. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't think so either, but the previous 2 guys were, so hence the question of is he the answer. And again, it's outlawed because that's cheating if Green Bay gets 3 in a row. Robert, Falcons predictions after the draft. It all comes down to Desmond Ridder. If Desmond Ridder plays, at a league average level, they might win the division in the NFC South. If he doesn't, Atlanta's probably drafting in the top 10, and they're probably getting a new quarterback and building around him and what is honestly kind of a decent supporting cast. Atlanta thinks they can win the division this year. We shall see if that happens. Richard Iacocco, Bears fan number 1. You think Bears running back Roschon Johnson will be the number 1 back this year? I think he'll be the short yardage back. I think he'll be some pass protector stuff. I actually really like Khalil Herbert. Between Roschon Johnson, Khalil Herbert, Deonta Foreman, Travis Homer can be your special teams back. I think all 3 guys will get chances. I think Herbert brings you a little bit more explosive run ability, and I crave that because it's harder to find. I love the Roschon Johnson pick. I kind of want to go Herbert, though. Robert Olmstead. Tony Pollard goes for 1,300 rushing yards. Deuce Vaughn goes for 650. Micah Parsons wins Defensive Player of the Year. That's a lot of running yards for Pollard and Deuce Vaughn, especially for a 6th-round pick. Might be a little bit on the optimistic end. Micah's also been runner-up Defensive Player of the Year for back-to-back years, so that one is certainly not a bold prediction. We got Jerry's Burner here asking about Zeke back to the Cowboys. I don't think so. I think that the more likely outcome is that Zeke goes somewhere else. I think it makes sense for both sides to have a clean break. Now, if Zeke can't find a new team and the Cowboys come camp time or middle of camp looking for a short yardage back, maybe a reunion could make some sense, but I think Zeke's looking to go somewhere else and kind of kickstart the career again. So where do you think Ezekiel Elliott ends up signing? Sound off in the comment section. Who signs Ezekiel Elliott? Casey the Sledge, which high draft pick quarterback is best positioned to make it work long term? It's a great question. I want to believe, I think the best landing spot for me was probably Indy. I like Shane Steichen. They've invested some in the offensive line receiving room in recent years. It's also the most upside gamble pick at the quarterback position. If Carolina had DJ Moore, I would still pick them, but they give up a lot for him. I also like Frank Reich a decent amount. Houston should be a decent spot. I still want to get some more playmakers for them from that perspective. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. As producer Sam did not live up to his 60-second guarantee, as Ryan, a $2 super chat. Thank you, Ryan. How good do you think Bryce Young will be? I think Bryce Young can be that top 7-ish quarterback, top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he'll surpass Mahomes or even Burrow anytime soon. If you get top 7, top 5, really happy there. The size is a concern, but if he can overcome it, he has the playmaking to thrive in the NFL. Richard Effler, chances Titans trade for a wide receiver. I don't know how many options there are from that perspective. Like maybe, you know what's a good name there? How about KJ Hamler to Tennessee? Gamble on the former early round pick. I still think a lot of their guys, Kyle Phillips, Sean Burks, are best in the slot. They are probably going to use a lot of 2 tight end sets this year is my guess, because they didn't really address the spot that I think Tennessee's been searching for a while. Josh Wiley in the 5th, Chico Okonkwo in the 4th last year's actually a really good 1-2 punch, but Jacob Copeland, Colton Dowell, the draft and UDFAs, it's Traylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, Nick Westbrook-Akina, hoping they sign somebody. So that's not a very good wide receiver room. Dominic Schrader, Cardinals moving for Kyler and Hopkins and get a first, then draft Caleb Williams, Ron Harris, and a defensive player, Kalen King. I don't think you can get a first right now for Kyler and D-Hop, and the Kyler contract can't be moved at this point. Now, next year, if Kyler does not play, if Kyler sits out half the season and they're at a playoff race and goes, I'm just going to ride the bench the rest of the way, I could see Kyler being moved. If Arizona has the number 1 overall pick, they're going to Kyler Murray. They're going to have the Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray thing all over again. Kyler's going to get Kylered, as weird as that might, or Kyler's going to get Rosened, I guess. And then they draft Caleb Williams, get Marvin Harrison, trade those 2 guys away, get picks, draft defensive players. Maybe not right now, maybe soon. Dominique. Mr. Awesome Guy 222. Besides the Eagles and Niners, could any team make the playoffs if they were in the AFC? That's a good question. Might come down to which division they're in. Our power rankings video will be linked in the comments if you're watching on demand. I could see a scenario where, I think Dallas makes some sense. And depending on how good the Lions actually are, I think they could. I think that's you're probably pushing for more of a wild card spot for both of those teams. But those are the only 2 I'd really consider. Sorry, Giants. Gold Fox 177. What vet or super chat $5? Should the Cowboys sign a vet receiver or corner? Also, could Fournette be an option for a cheap vet running back? Fournette could be. I think that's kind of just like having Zeke, but same, but different type of deal. It's the exact same player at this stage in their careers. I don't think corners a vet need. That they have Jordan Lewis. They're actually pretty deep right now with recent draft picks, and they traded for Stephon Gilmore. I think Brandon Cooks was the addition at wide receiver. You have Fehoko. You have 3rd-round pick Jalen Tolbert. I don't think those 2 areas are big concerns right now for Dallas, but running back absolutely could be in the not-too-distant future. From Just... Why is Jadeveon Clowney unsigned? I know what he's going for. I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of the full name. Just y'all can read. Why is Jadeveon Clowney unsigned? He hasn't been that productive as a pass rusher, and he burnt bridges in Cleveland. He frankly went full-on napalm with them when he made the comments about they're not trying to win games. They're putting Myles Garrett in the better positions to get the sacks. That's all they care about. And that did not go over well across the NFL. He's going to have to wait. And the past he's waited because he didn't want to go to camp. He's going to wait a little bit. Who do you think is the best NFL free agent left unsigned at this point? Sound off in the comment section for me. Who's the best one? 2.0. What is Chase Young worth in a trade? I think worth and what the Commanders might be asking for are 2 different things. I think they would want a first-round pick, which is too much for a guy that has not been healthy the past 2 years. A 2nd or a 3rd for Chase Young? He was very good his first year, but he hasn't played that much the past 2 seasons, and that is a big red flag for teams. From Manny, how big of a gap is there between the Cowboys and the Eagles? I think most people around sports media, etc., have the Eagles ahead of the Cowboys, which I agree with. I don't think it's that big. I think those are the 2 clear teams at the tops in the NFC East. Maybe it's just a tier break between them. Remember, they did split last year. Now, neither team had their starter. So we were deprived the rubber match of having Dak and Jalen get to play against the 2 of the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFC, right? Right? Two best quarterbacks in the NFC. Those 2 guys. Sorry, Kirk Cousins, etc. I don't think there's a giant gap there. And last one, XD Gamer 22, Yannick Ngakoue to the Jags. A reunion, you say? Let's see. Jags have Josh Allen. They still have Caleb on Jason, who maybe have isn't the right word there for him. Trayvon Walker. He spent a decent premium pick on Jordan Smith last year. Yasir Abdullah. If he's cheap enough, yes. I just wonder how that relationship between player and organization is right now.